Well, as we enter week 9 and the second half of the semester, we are moving from the political frame, where last week we were submitting our papers and taking a quiz on the political frame and all of the influence and power and those pieces that were part and parcel of the political lens. Now we're moving to the symbolic lens, and you already have done some reading on that as you did last week. And that's what we're talking about with the symbols of our organizations. The symbolic frame is all about theater, temple, carnival. The central concepts are culture, meaning, ritual, how we inspire our members and even members of the community with our leaders, the stories, the heroes, the type of organization that we are. When we go into the community, we take those trappings with us, and we utilize them to help the community understand this is us, and here's what we do. And when you see this symbol, you'll know this is us. We want to inspire. That is our, especially for the leader and any person who is drinking the Kool-Aid and becoming a member of our organization. We want to be inspired and to inspire others, to create faith, to create meaning. And so the meaning, let's just take a look at that. Because the symbolic perspective is all about meaning. It's all about believing in our organization. And the importance of each event is not the event itself, but what it means to you and what it means to others. And what it means to your colleagues is not necessarily the same thing it means to you. Might be close, but there are differences. And this is different than rational meaning. This is not cognitive. This is affective. We're talking about the feeling parts of our organization. When we create events, we want to bring our symbols. When we have rituals, like bringing someone on board or having a ceremony to award someone, we want it to be a ritual so it is unforgettable for that individual. And oftentimes it's the ritual itself that is more important than what you might be giving them as far as an award. It's saying, you are important to us. You are part of our family, and we believe in you, and we admire you, and you have done good work for us. The symbols, well, we want our symbols to be recognized. Again, when we go in the community, we want the community members who see us to remember that's who you are. In the same way that when someone sees the swoosh, they know that's Nike. And when someone sees an apple, well, who is that? So the stories, the myths, the symbols, we want them all intertwined so that we have a sense of who we are, and it is a shared sense with all who see our symbols. So we want them to be beautiful. We want them to be considered important and admired. And we want to create that kind of affective understanding, that kind of myth, and that kind of a story that we want to be told over and over by the media, by ourselves, by our leaders, by the community, and of those who buy our or use our products. So in the symbolic frame, organization is theater. Bowman and Deal say, quote, when production and results are hard to measure, correct appearance and presentation become the prevailing measure of effectiveness. So it's how you look, how you appear, that may be how you are measured as being effective and on your game. So again they say, quote, theatrical imagery offers a hopeful note For a variety of reasons, we may be restless, frustrated, lost, or searching to renew our faith, and we commission a new play that we call change. So when things happen, the stock market takes a downturn. In the Great Recession, we had a need for change when the market is in a situation where either we are growing and it's a bull market, or it's a bear market and we are reducing our footprint. We're going to have change. And that change, we want to be embraced. Change is hard. We want it to be embraced. And so we wrap it up in theater. And just ordinary times. Are our meetings illusion or advancement? So do you go to meetings and go, I wonder why I just spent an hour here? Or do you say, wow, we got so much done in that short time? When we're planning things, is it more about the dance or the rain? Are we getting things done in our planning? When we're evaluating things, is it more about the tool we use? Or is it are we trying to decide something, or are we trying to justify something in our evaluation? And that's important to note. That's something that you'll want to talk to when you write your paper talking about the theater in your organization. And is power about action, or is it about appearance of action? So think about that. And that's a little different than the political frame. It's different because we're talking about illusion and the way things look and the way things feel. So when we talk about the principles of a frame, we want to really use the principles of each of the frames as guides for writing our papers. So here, in the symbolic frame, the principles are how one becomes a member and diversity. How is the diversity? What is the diversity in your group? And not necessarily ethnic diversity, although certainly that's an important diversity piece. But what about providing competitive advantage as far as thought differences? Differences in age, differences in background, so that you don't get into a groupthink kind of situation where everyone is going the same direction, no one questions, and that there isn't a real cauldron of new ideas. You just go along, resting on your laurels. Diversity helps us. Do you have it? Example, not command, bonds a team. Example, a good example of how to be, way of being, is what is the reason that people follow a leader. Jargon fosters cohesion. If we all talk our talk, we know our talk. We know we're the only ones who know our talk. And somehow that brings us all together. Stories and folk history, values, identity. We know our stories. We know the heroes and heroines of our stories. We know the time frames. We know the humor. We know what our stories are about and how they describe how our organization grew up and is who it is today. Our stories are important to our identity. Humor and play. It's important to reduce tension. It's important to increase creativity. How is your humor and play in your organization? So, here we are. What organizational stories, heroes and heroines, deeds of repute do we each recall and tell with pride, tell with humor, and tell knowing this is who we are in our organization? What are your symbols, and what do they invoke? Well, let's talk about that, and let's talk about our framework that we are going to use to guide us this week. What we're going to be doing with our activities is talking about what symbols and culture promote and declare who we are. What are your symbols? What symbols in your organization promote your culture and declare who you are. So let's talk about that. For example, in Idaho Central Credit Union, it's all about the green machine. In Idaho State University, it's all about the Bengal and the ISU I and the columns. So there are different things that we look to, but primarily our Bengal. Roar, Bengal, roar, right? So we're going to talk about that in the forum. And we're reading chapter 14. We're going to be looking toward, for week 10, our symbolic frame paper. It's due March 22nd. And we'll have the quiz at the same time also due. And both will open up next Saturday. Alrighty, let's see you in the forum. Have a great week.